the introduction.
Welcome. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning if you're in the US. Ladies and gents, welcome to the Wide Awake Show. Very, very exciting day today. And as you can see, we've got all four members of the team here. It's that bigger deal. We've got all four members of the team, Tet, Roxanne and Sarah. So I'm going to hand over and let them say hello to you themselves before we bring in our very, very special guest. We've been looking forward to this for a long time. I'll hand over. Guys.
I'll make mine short. Hi, everybody, because we really need to say hi to Rox and Tet today.
Yeah.
Your next
Massive shout out to you. It's lovely to be here with a full panel today. Rich, Sarah, Tet, everyone watching. Lovely to see you all. Over to you, Tet.
Cheers, Rich. Great to see you. Sarah, Rox, always a pleasure to be here. And I can't wait to get into conversation with Amandha Vollmer because her work is just out of this world.
It's outstanding, isn't it?
Let's go for it.
Let's go for it. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, please, will you make her feel very welcome? The very beautiful, the very wonderful Amandha Vollmer.
Hi, everyone.
Hello, my darling.
Super panel today.
How are you doing, Amandha?
Good to be here.
I'm gonna put you on the spotlight right away. How are you?
It's absolutely fantastic to have you. The viewers are very much appreciative of you taking the time to join us today, Amandha. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all for this wonderful gathering. It's good to have like-minded and contemplative discussions. We need them more than ever these days.
Yeah, exactly. So what we were going to do today, guys, is we're going to chat with Amandha, catch up with her, what she's been doing over the last sort of 6 months or so, and talk a bit about her channel, about her business, and about her insights more than anything else. About the reason why I contacted her, because of her video, A Message to the Truthers. It inspired me to contact her so that we could actually have a chat, because I agree with everything that she's saying, basically, talking to the truth community. And what we're going to do, we're going to talk for about an hour, and then the last half an hour, we're going to hand over to you guys. If you can, for the last half an hour, I mean, you can put them in. If you want to ask Amandha a question, if there's a question that you really want asked, if you can put Q, do it all in caps, put a Q first, and then the question, so that it's easy to identify between the chat, the people chatting between each other and those that want to actually ask the question. It will make it easier for us to pick the questions out and ask them at the end. But
brilliant.
That's the plan. So, Amandha, tell us what have you been up to, because you've got your YouTube channel, you've got your Instagram channel, but it's been a little bit quiet on YouTube for the last few months or so. What have you been up to? Are you prepared to disclose, or is it you've been on secret missions?
Well, with everything in life, there's an ebb and a flow. And when you're constantly in output mode, that's the out breath. There has to be an in breath. You have to stop and reflect and contemplate. And there's times for different sorts of work. And I don't use a lot of that social media the way that I have in the past, because I keep getting shadow banned and blocked. And so I'm maneuvering into more the Yummy.Doctor platform for communication. But there's goals. There's big goals happening. First of all, it's summer season here. And a lot of my time is in the garden and also wildcrafting, because there's medicine out there to be had. And we make a lot of things, and part of my business structure is we get it right from outside and we bring it in and we start making. So right now the mullein flowers just popped. So I go out every day and I pick the fresh flowers to put in the oil with the garlic to make my garlic mullein ear oil, for example. I'm tincturing motherwort right now. There's beautiful, huge plants in flower, time to collect those. I've just moved to new land. So I'm assessing the land. I'm assessing what's naturally growing, what I want to keep, what I want to wildcraft, meaning what I want to encourage to grow, where the companions want to be. So when you're wildcrafting in nature, you're trying to assess what nature wants, just like in your body, you're trying to assess what the symptoms are trying to tell you, and you're trying to help it. You just like, let me be a steward for my body. Let me be a steward for the land. Let's see, do you like it there? Do you want to grow there? Let's encourage that. And where are your buddies? And so that's what I'm doing. I'm outside a lot, assessing the plants and also collecting a lot of them, and doing sustainable harvests and seed saving, collecting as well. So I'm really busy with that. I'm still in a lot of interviews. I'm doing about 2 or 3 interviews still a week until about August. Then my structure is going to be 1 interview a week. That's it. And I'll switch back into doing some live teachings. But my writing is on protocols and courses. Once the fall hits, once we go into winter again, it's all going to be more writing, videos that go along with protocols, because I realize people need the material. They need the inspiration, obviously, but they need to know what to do for themselves and to get away from the systems that hurt them. And in order to understand the medicine, to understand how to apply things, and the myriad of ways in which to do so, that's why I want to design these training courses. I've started with 2. They're in sort of like a dry run now, basically, where they're being put into our program template. And it will be similar to how you would sign up for any course. You would read each section. There'd be an exam at the end of the section for your comprehension purposes. And then once you passed, all the coursework, then you would actually get a certificate. And I think that's really helpful for people to feel like they did it, that they feel empowered, that they made these choices, that they're learning, and that they now know what to do when something happens. Like my second course is basically emergency medicine, how to triage a situation and know whether it's so dire that you need, secondary help, or, at what level can you have your family assist you, etc., so that you don't need to put yourself in a secondary danger by going into the hospital system, right? Which we know is, I would say, the first leading cause of death, not the third, as they say iatrogenic medicine is, because they fit in cancer disease,
That is actually, that's a video on your channel, isn't it? I remember I came across that the other day. Basically, sort of home triage to avoid an unnecessary trip to the hospital. I saw that.
I'm taking that sort of to the next level, where where we're going to talk about what do you do for cuts and burns and all of the different modules, really, and how to get do your CPR. I mean, all of those things.
I'd imagine that fresh aloe vera is somewhere in there with for cuts and burns. I know. So I had my ex-girlfriend. She literally poured boiling hot oil all over her hand. She was trying to pour it into a little bottle. She was in a bad mood when she did it. Just went all over her hand. And we got the oil off, and I said to her, fresh aloe vera, because she had loads of it. I said, just fresh aloe vera. It's the only thing I could think. And the next day when she woke up in the morning, it's like there wasn't even a blemish on her skin. There was you couldn't see anything. But because she didn't keep reapplying it, she just did it the once and that was it. After a couple of days, her skin actually started to blister. And I wonder if she had kept putting the fresh aloe vera on, if that would have kept, you know, if it would have not done that, basically, if she kept reapplying it.
Well, here's the issue: is the skin is damaged and usually has to slough off. So it will go through that process of renewal, essentially. And if you do these techniques like aloe or DMSO or any of those applications, you still might go through the blistering process, but you will not scar. Like after all is said and done and the healing is complete, there will be no scar left. Actually, my partner burnt his hand on literally fresh boiled water. Again, just a slip up, and he blistered quite badly, and went through that whole process. And we just did, you know, aloe, of course, DMSO, a little bit of lavender, and we wrapped it in scobies because I make kombucha, and they make those scobies, and they are a very underutilized remedy for all sorts of ailments of skin, because they're very soothing, and they have these the microbes that will help break down the tissue and rebalance the pH of the skin. And I would apply that, and it also removed a lot of the heat. So if you can get with a burn something on there quickly to try to draw out some of the excess heat to stop the cooking, because basically you're like cooking your skin. The sooner you can, but not ice, because ice actually shocks the skin and damages it. We want to go to ice, and we want to go to cold, like really cold water. But if you had like stones or crystals or scobies or something that will more draw off the heat units directly without adding in a secondary shock to the skin, you can probably even avoid a lot of the excessive blistering doing that. Or plants, like go out and grab plantain. I mean, it's everywhere. I'm collecting it every day. And lay leaves, or even mullein, whatever you've got, just bruise up the leaves and lay them on, and have a bunch of them, and then just keep switching them off. As soon as they get hot, switch them off to the other, and just draw out a lot of that heat, you know, because plants will take it for you. They will accept the wounding. And same thing with bruises or, you know, major contusions, things like I have that story of my daughter who fell off her bike in a strange way, and she landed on her elbow, the tip of her elbow, full body weight, like a body slam. And I was worried that it was broken. I assessed it. It wasn't. And my first instinct was to go grab the plantain leaves, sort of bruise them up, put them on the elbow, and gauze them so they were just there. That was all I did. Gave her a homeopathic arnica orally. I didn't even know about DMSO back then, or I would have used it. And it was the end of the day. She had her dinner, went to bed. Next morning, I was concerned. Obviously, I was going to like, what's this going to look like? Nothing. No bruise, no contusion, nothing happened. No pain. So the plant world will accept our folly with grace. So I do suggest learning about your local growing plants as much as possible, and remember them when you're in a situation like that.
This is something that's going to turn a lot of people's heads around, because DMSO, as you said, there's a lot of people that haven't quite come across DMSO treatment and that line of treatment. So for people that aren't watching, I've had a couple of notifications asking you if you could break down in a simplistic form how DMSO has come about. Obviously, it comes from trees, it comes from growing. And it's, as you say, it's scientifically backed. Can you elaborate a little bit on the scientific backing of DMSO for people that are really interested, like myself?
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the reasons why I wrote Healing with DMSO, because the goal was to summarize all of that research and all of that information in a handy kind of thing where you can understand it, you can read it from front to back, and you've got enough knowledge and understanding that you can apply it safely and dilute it properly and use it for all sorts of things, because it is a big topic. There's a lot to learn about it. It's one of the most studied substances, which was where I was very shocked when I was like, where is this discussion? Where's this DMSO in the world? Because there's so many studies. How is it not on every everyone's
Household
mind,
name.
or a first aid remedy. Yeah. So I was shocked about that. And I realized that it's a suppressed substance, and it's a competitive substance with things like antibiotics, anti-inflammatories, blood thinners, most of the drugs for all sorts of pain, painkillers and things. So of course it's not going to be triumphed in any way. And that once you understand this medicine from the trees, then it helps you understand it's a sulfur and oxygen based compound. It's giving sulfur into the body, which assists the repair of tissues. It has a very unique relationship with water, and water is one of our most sacred substances as far as, who we are and what we're learning about water, and that water holds memory, and that there are different types of water with different pHs. And now you have a substance that has a very refined relationship with water. Now you'll have a powerful action that you can utilize for all sorts of things, including mobilizing wastes and out of the area, which can cause distress to some people who don't understand that DMSO can actually move out some pretty heavy substances away, like cataracts, for example, right? Using the 20% up to 40% with vitamin C eye drops will dissolve cataracts. But it can be very discomforting because you're moving bits and you'll feel that. So a lot of people, what is happening? And well, your stuff's dissolving and moving, and you have to just go through the process of release, of detox. So it's going to upregulate those processes, and it's going to encourage the liver to do a better job of clearing and cleansing the tissues away. So when you have a transdermal agent, which means it's opening skin layers, you can get immediate movement of whatever's needed, whether it's nutrition molecules into the area for repair, whether it's removal of waste in the other direction. You're upregulating that, and that's power. It's quite immediate action. So I encourage people to understand it and to have some on hand, because it can really shorten your healing time, and it can really extend your options when it comes to how you're designing your approaches to heal all kinds of different conditions, from acute to chronic, really.
Is this where's this book available, Amanda?
Pretty much everywhere. I mean, my publisher, Ulysses Press, obviously, they put it, on Amazon's, and so Barnes and Noble and Indigo, all the bigger booksellers have it. And then my website, healingwithdmso.com, my other website with the remedies, yumnaturals.store, also has it. And so it's easy to get a hold of, which is a good thing.
Obviously, sorry, I was just going to say, obviously, if anybody is going to go and get their hands on it, the best thing to do is to go direct to the source, go to the website, rather than going through the likes of Amazon and putting money in Jeff Bezos's pocket. Go direct to the source. Sorry, Amanda, I interrupted you then.
No, that's fine. You can't control what the publisher does. I was just happy to, go through the process of writing this book, and it was really difficult because the way that your mind works when you're trained a certain way to think, and then you're trying to change, go from this heavy language and scientific jargon to really clear and concise and layman's terms. And that's what I went through with that book. So it was quite a love affair, I'll tell you, sordid one perhaps, but I was very proud of it at the end, because it was challenging to do it in that way. But I was happy to know that people were going to be able to use it properly and understand and be empowered to do it. So, and it was just, I just couldn't believe that there weren't more people, especially in the naturopathic profession and the holistic professions, who knew about it, who were talking about it. So, so here we are, and we're talking about it now, I guess.
Yeah. Can I ask, have you heard of GcMAF?
Yeah, absolutely.
The protein. It's a protein, isn't it, that we produce?
Yeah, it's a vitamin D derived protein,
Right.
or it has an intimate relationship with our vitamin D levels, and it's the counter effect to what they call nagalase, which a lot of doctors, like Gonzalez, Dr. Gonzalez, he was murdered actually for his use of GcMAF. And you can create it yourself by fermenting in yogurt. You can actually create it at home on your own if you wish. And it is, purported for major chronic diseases, especially cancers, right?
I don't know if you're aware, but there was a British doctor, husband and wife doctor team, who basically were providing treatment for people. I think it was in France. They were providing treatment, GcMAF treatment to people. They were somebody went in with stage 4 liver cancer, and 3 months later walked out clean as a whistle. So,
Yeah.
and the French government prosecuted them. They fled to the UK, and the French government had them extradited back to France, and they're now serving time in prison for doing GcMAF therapy, and basically for curing people.
Well, yeah, and so there's little tricks that they do that I always encourage anybody who finds something that works like that, to that level, to be aware that obviously the Rockefeller medicine system was set up to prosecute people who knew this information and were utilizing this information. It was a witch hunt way back, I know, from that moment, really. And the issue is it's still going on, and people don't realize it's still going on. And if you dare specifically say the word cure, so if you say GcMAF, actually that word cure, whatever the disease is, that's their word. That's not our word. And they will come after you for that. And that's the same thing with Mark Brennan and his brother, or his son rather, and his family with MMS, or chlorine dioxide solution. He came out at the beginning of fake COVID and said that MMS cures COVID. And that's what got him in big trouble. You don't use the word. I abolish that word. I don't use it because they've taken it for their use, and you can't make those claims. So you have to be careful how you express the passion, because it's very passionate when you realize, oh my goodness, this is for real. But then you go, oh, there's this cure and the next one and the next one, and there's redundant cures.
Vitamin C, just vitamin C, the benefits of that on its own.
Sure. Sorry, Amanda, so what I was going to ask was that, you see, many of us were kind of raised in a philosophy of medicine comes out of a pill or out of a bottle. And so it's taken, certainly for me, it's taken time to move across to the idea that good health is also about your attitude to your body, your attitude to what you do with it, and the relationship you have with the person who's helping you to heal. So can you say anything about how we can kind of improve our attitude towards our own health so that we can come across things like DMSO? For example, I looked at 3 sites about DMSO. Each one of them came back with the suggestion that its benefits, its efficacy was unproven. Well, they would say that, wouldn't they? It's part of the Rockefeller medicine canon. So what can you say to us about how we can kind of open our minds to a more constructive attitude towards our personal health care?
That's a good question. I think a lot of it will come down to realizing what's gone on here with medicine. Perhaps understanding some of the politics around it. It's like Babylon, come out of her, you know?
Yeah.
How else are you going to know that you have this power and that you are able to heal yourself if you don't understand that the system is designed to capture you in that ignorance and continue to feed it forward, and that it's really a death cult? The culture around it is, encouraging their whatever their ideas are about death. And when you honor life, when you work toward honoring life, honoring what is put here from our creator, because I mean, we didn't make the plant world, we didn't make all that. This has been made for us, and we have to come at it with honor and respect. And if you get right inside of yourself, spiritually inside of yourself, your perspectives begin to change. And then you start to see that it's way more elegant and beautiful than just popping a pill, or suppressing a symptom or trying to run and hide from the discomfort, which is ultimately what conventional medicine is set up to do, is set up to just, I don't like the feeling in my body, make it go away reaction.
Yeah.
When you can do enough self-reflection, where you're more self-conscious, self-aware, so you pour the waters of consciousness on your situation, you go, well, what if you start doing that? Well, what if there was another way? Or what if this is coming from the fact that I had a trauma, or there was grief, or there was loss, or isn't it interesting to find these correlations in my life? Why this disease now in this body with these emotions? And really, you have to go inward and do self-reflections to get to that place where you're asking the right questions. And once you can do that, when you start questioning, you can come out of cults. That's the only way to exit any kind of cult thing, is questioning. And if you become your own questioner, then you can get deeper with it. You can own it. Like, okay, I did these things to my body, and that's why I'm sick. I imbibed, I trusted the food source, the grocery store to not poison me, but they did. And so now I'm more cautious with what I purchase. And, it all comes down to the learning part of it and what you're willing to accept into your body. And it comes from really love and care for life. And so I think that honoring and respecting life and getting your spiritual cadence sorted. And it doesn't matter. I mean, it could be from any religion. That doesn't matter, the structure. It actually just matters how you're utilizing the connection to your creator to understand that there's no other external authority that can tell you or do anything to you without your permission. And so if the creator loves you, and you then honor that by loving yourself as well, because that's how you can honor the creation, then you change your thinking and you change your behaviors. And that opens your mind to all sorts of I'm self-responsible, therefore I will start to research. I will look at you may come across DMSO or GcMAF or MMS or any of these other solutions. Go, well, that's fascinating. I noticed the first couple of pages in the search bar, it's all bad things they're saying about this. But I know that the Rockefeller medicine system exists. So I expect that, but I'm going to go to page 3, or I'm going to not let that first wall stop me from researching and learning. So I think from a philosophical foundation, those are very key aspects to self-empowerment and self-health directive.
I think one of the things that I got very excited when I realized your stance on it was basically you are, I think, like we are, you're a globe denier. You deny the model that we've been given, and therefore, I mean, basically, what you've just done is described the very reason why they've done so much and worked so hard to completely steal our true perception of what's going on, because they've separated us, or not us, obviously. We seem to have this really strong, unbreakable link. They can't seem to, we've seen through all the lies. We can see through all the shit. We know that we were created by an intelligence far greater than us, and we can call it God, or we can call it whatever. It's God. God is a title given by man. It's in legal. It's in the Black Law Dictionary. It's a legal definition. It's a corporate fiction, all of that. But we know what we mean when we say God. So it's the Most High, that ineffable intelligence that none of us can really even comprehend, other than to say that we are all a tiny little part of it. We are part of this creation, and we were created specifically to be a part of this creation in two bodies, kind of thing, as in like a spiritual being having a physical experience within the creation, within what was created, and within that creation being able to further create, further, go forth and multiply, as it said in the Bible. But and I think that this realm is limited only by our own level of consciousness. Really, we're being kind of quarantined at the moment because we're so we're on such a low vibration. We've been so indoctrinated into believing that matter is what matters, and that the ego's got completely out of whack. So to hear that you appreciate that, and then with what you just, like I said, with what you just said, it fully illustrates exactly why they've done that. Oh, why would they lie about the shape of the earth? Bingo. There you go. That's your reason. Because if you crawled out of the ooze, it was a freak chance accident that it all happened, and it could have happened a million times on a million different planets elsewhere. You're nothing special. We're nothing special. We're a random, we're random chance in a universe of complete chaos. When the reality is, it was intended for us to be here right now, having this conversation that we're having.
Yeah, it's very fundamental. It's fundamental. It takes a lot of undoing of the mental, Swiss cheese, Swiss cheese for brains that they sort of made humanity have, or mankind have, because I guess being very existential from a young age, I was always questioning the why more than anything else. Why am I here? And not everyone comes in with that thinking, but I did, and that's why I would always seek answers. That I knew that this was a place of illusion, and early on I studied a lot of the Buddhist texts. And in Buddhism, it really helped me, because it helped me understand that what the masters were teaching was that this place is Maya, or the place of illusions. And it's a play on your holographic projections coming from your own mind. And that you can obviously take in all sorts of visions into your mind and try to make them a reality, because you are like a baby demigod, sort of, in a sense, meaning when you start to become responsible, you get more keys to the castle, right? You get to play with more sophisticated toys if you know how to not break them, right? And that understanding that this place is an illusion and that it's our mind that's involved. And now it makes sense that anyone trying to control someone or suppress someone from advancing would do what they're doing, right? Obviously, they would give us lies. They would make sophisticated lies. They would use entertainment and flashy lights and all sorts of things to distract us. They would try to keep us in our lower chakra system, so our base survival chakra, or even the next one, which is all pleasure and sex. They tend to keep us in those lower two. But really, if you want to see, you have to advance through all the stages of your centers and illuminate, you know, which they even tell us. I mean, they all tell, they're not quiet about it. If you want to find the answers, it's all there. That our third eye, or our pineal, is part of our seeing system. It's part of our sight. And our goals, you know, are to work through these spaces, which have been documented. We actually have mapped all the acupuncture points in the body. We have very specific tissues that, so they knew all the acupuncture meridians. They knew how that whole system worked way before. So something happened where we fell. We lost what we had. We already had the garden, and we already had our awareness, and we fell. Why? We don't know. Was it an accident? Was it on purpose? We don't know any of that. We just know that we've fallen for some reason, and we're working our way back up to our awareness again. The more that we do that work, the more that we even stay heart-centered, it will bring you, at least it will bring it up here. Work on compassion, work on, you know, the small things. Love, like I'll go out and I'll just love on the flowers, you know, just as a practice to just love and feel love for no reason and no personal gain, just to actually feel it. And to
patience.
put all of that in motion, because the more, like if we stay stuck down there, we won't achieve what we're meant to achieve. And then you can find all your own answers.
Rox, you're on mute, babe.
Go ahead.
Sorry, no, Rock. Just so I didn't, just in case, because I thought she was going to speak then, but she's on mute.
Okay.
But,
yeah, sure.
No, it's okay. It's all good.
Amanda, one of the things that really gets me is that I watched one of your videos, and you were talking about the toxicity test, in that when you're putting something into yourself, your body has a reaction. And the problem is that most of us are so out of touch with ourselves that we don't pick up on what our body's telling us about what we're doing to it, which is obviously fundamental to our health. Now, we can go ahead and continue doing that because we're so disconnected from our bodies. The other thing that always occurs to me is that we are, especially in classical Western education, really focused on intellectual development, but we're emotional and spiritual pygmies. You know, we're completely kind of, we're much smaller in that way. And actually, the work of opening your heart is so powerful that it knocks the whole house of cards down. It starts to disrupt all the hierarchies, because to get out of the world we're in now, we are going to have to disrupt medical systems. We are going to have to disrupt social philosophies.
Education.
Education. We are going to have to disrupt kind of fantasies that we've created about ethnic hierarchies and so on and so forth.
The whole 9 yards.
Everything.
Society.
The whole thing. So the thing is driven, I used to think, by how much I knew, my intellect, yada, yada, yada. But actually, whether you're loving on flowers just because, you know, or whatever, it's actually driven by the state of our hearts. And I think that this is a message that can't go out strongly enough to people, because that completely defines the kind of world they're going to see or not see around them.
And it's and there's the whole be the change you want to see as well, isn't there? You know, that we've got to to be able to, if we're gonna, if you want the world to change, you've got to start here. Be the change you want to see, lead by example. That's I think one of the reasons why I've got so much respect for you, man, because you're doing exactly that. You're leading by example, and you've put your money where your mouth is. You're invested in this Yummy Naturals business, and that's something that we're actually we're also we're probably a few years behind you because it's only been conceived in the last year, not the last 6 months. But we're gonna. So my new channel on YouTube is the Magic Treehouse. I was 007, but now it's the Magic Treehouse because I've created a group called the Magic Treehouse on Signal, which is like an ethereal group, which is it's a treehouse. It's magic because you can go there, whenever, and it's all friends. It's a safe space. Dare I say it? It's a safe space. All right, lefties. Yeah, it's an internet safe space. But it's the idea is what I wanted to create was somewhere where people could come to heal, where people could come to get strength, where people could come to learn, to get tools to help them go back out and tackle the problems that life throws at us. And so what I want is for the Magic Treehouse to become a real treehouse, more than one, a retreat center for healing. So somewhere you can go for a retreat, just to go and have a nice week or 2 weeks away, where it's like a health spa, you get emotionally, mentally, physically, and spiritually cleansed. Or it's, if you're somebody that, I want it to be somewhere where people can come who are broken. They come in broken, either emotionally or physically or mentally, whatever. They come in broken, and we basically help fix them, reconnect them to their true selves. And then when they leave with all the tools that they need to be able to tackle anything that comes their way afterwards, So homeopathic. Go on.
Sorry, Rich. Finish.
I was just going to say, just homeopathic remedies. That one aspect that I want to cover. One thing that I want to do is help people with addictions, particularly heavy addictions to heroin or cocaine or whatever, but just addictions, and using ayahuasca, using DMT and psilocybin, depression, anxiety and depression, anger management, all of the things that we can help people with, all of the socially engineered conditions that people end up in, isn't it? It's
can I ask Amanda? This is helpful for, I think, everybody. Is that I've set up various groups, and after a while, it just becomes a gossip shop where people come and drop off. Oh, have you seen this? Have you seen that? Oh, have you seen this? Oh, isn't this awful? And it just becomes a diatribe of fear and anger porn, really. But what you're doing is that you're not only thinking, you're also creating. So how do we find the balance between doing that? Because, to be honest, I really don't want to be deluged with what's going wrong around me everywhere. I also want to see constructive insights, as Rich is wanting to do with his Magic Treehouse, as you're doing with the manufacture. I mean, you're teaching, you're counseling, you're producing products, you're doing all of these things. So there's a balance there of the insight and the creation. How do we find that balance?
Yeah, that's important. It's all comes down to awareness ultimately, because the awareness, we have to know, or if you feel you have to know, maybe you don't have to, but I feel that I want to know what's going on to a greater or lesser degree. So we'll find out something happens. We have the awareness. We know that happened. Right. Are we going to write a PhD on it? Is that what our calling is our calling to do that or to know that. If not, I mean, most of us would say no, it's not. And that means it's not our calling to continue to talk about whatever that event was. Now we know that that's something that's a marker. And then you ask the next question, which is, how can this information help me redefine what I'm doing in my life? So if we know that they're not letting us fly, right? Okay, so here in Canada, if you're not vaccinated, they're restricting your flight. But it doesn't even matter. Even the vaccinated, I mean, the airports are terrible, right? They're doing this on purpose. We know they don't want us traveling. They don't want us flying. They're trying to make it very difficult for us to get anywhere, to do anything. That's part of the war strategy. Okay, so we know they're doing that. Then, you know what? I don't need that trouble in my life. I'm not really feeling a calling to go anywhere inside of me. And if I did, I know that it would all line up. If it was the right thing, it would line up. It would be easy, right? I'm never going to push and I'm never going to force. I'm going to listen to the information. I'm going to put it into my system. And then I'm going to, well, that means we're not traveling internationally for a while, because I will not put myself in that situation, because I love and care about my well-being and the well-being of my family, right? So you think like that, and then you move on. So you're not like, oh, damn them and the airports, and I wanted to go to Hawaii or what, No, it's that you take the information. Well, that's right now, everything in this realm is for my benefit, no matter what it looks like. No matter if it looks crappy, it's for my benefit. So that means that crappy situation is not in my reality. I'm not in airports. I'm not pushing through. And that means the things I'm supposed to do right now are home-based. The things I'm supposed to do is about making medicine, is about teaching, this is the work that I'm supposed to do. So I will do it. And that's presented to me, and I feel that, right? And if we get aware of these things, then we know we're not going to harp on about it. And if we do, that means your ego's on the stage, right? So if something's bothering you, something triggered you, that's your ego, and that's work. That means you have work to do, right? Oh, crap, that really got me this time. That bugged me when they said that or whatever.
Yeah.
I got to go sit with this now, and maybe I will write it out to myself. Maybe I feel anger, and it's okay to feel anger. So what I'll do is I'll write an email to this person, but never send it, just so I can express my feelings and my anger as raw as I need to see myself. But I'm never going to press send on that, because it's not about them. It's about me, right?
Exactly. So it's there's nothing destructive and you've expressed yourself, but in a kind of a neutral way, in a safe space, that it's like, it's like sticking your head out the door and screaming outside, so that nobody in the room can hear that you're in a, but expression is important. It's important to express what you're feeling, right? But I love that you said that.
Yeah. And if you get to that place where, I was just going to say quickly, if you get to that place where you've addressed it and you find that kernel, so you'll get down to the essence. So that's always your goal, is what's the emotion? Where's my ego involved in this? What are my desires and needs? And then what's the essence of the situation? And can I present that in a neutral or loving way to whomever? Or it might be impassioned. Maybe that is the way. Maybe being impassioned and even crazy, you came to that conclusion that is the way. That is the only way. I mean, I've had those situations happen to me. It's not necessarily pretty. It doesn't always have to be neat and tidy. Like I've had to have deep, penetrating conversations that are not comfortable. And it benefited that person on some way, but you have to trust that. So there's the faith element that comes into it. But if you do that layup work as much as you can, at least you know where your weaknesses are, where your wants are, where your ego sits in it. So you can own it and say, you know what, my ego did get triggered when you said that. I totally own that crap. And I just feel unheard. How can we change this so I can feel heard? And here's what I would like to say or something, and that's important to you, right? So it's really about development of your methods and how you deal with emotional triggers and how you deal with information that does that to you, like centricism, or like, there's no viruses, or anything that challenges a belief system that's going to trigger your ego. If everyone would just sit and do that assessment, we'd get a lot further in the knowledge. Yeah. Because now you're not going into ad hominem and all these logical fallacies. Sure. You're going to go essence yourself and you're going to come to it with grace.
Have you ever read The Fourth Way? Or do you know of The Fourth Way by Gurdjieff?
Oh, yeah. Actually, I had Gurdjieff practitioners. I met a lot of Gurdjieff practitioners or followers, I guess, devotees, when I first graduated in naturopathic college, and they were doing the dances as well with it. Like, yeah.
So,
so what you were going to say.
Yeah, well, it's just that I've been reading. They're lectures given about the Fourth Way. It's like the wisdom of the Fourth Way, where they've looked at Gurdjieff, but they've also looked at Uspensky and Nicole, who both they studied with Gurdjieff, and then they came away, went in different directions, but both brought a lot of insight to what Gurdjieff had been teaching. The dances are their observations are that basically every school that's popped up since has been subject to the same trap, which has been the ego of the one leading it, and they've gone off in their own directions that have no connection to the Fourth Way, the original teachings. Like who is it said? Anybody that's still doing the dances and they're still doing that ritualism, they've got no idea. They've just missed the whole point of what the dances are about. I really resonated with it. I mean, to the point where, forgive me for saying it, but I feel it's almost like I wrote it. It's like, wow. I've been saying that for the last year or so. I've reached these conclusions already about the multiplicity of eyes that exist within us, the different aspects of the ego, being able to observe them, being able to observe how I react in certain situations with different people, and the different versions of me that pop up and say, yeah, that's me, I'm the one in control. I'm a musician, I'm a singer, I'm a musician, a professional for the last, since 2009, blah, 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 blah. But not understanding that is an assumed character. It's almost a programmed, it's a programmed part of my ego that developed in response to the things that were happening, and things that were happening to me while I was unconscious. Because he talks about the 4 stages of consciousness, where the first 2 you're still asleep. Like the first is literally that you've woken up, you've opened your eyes, you're breathing, you're operating as a living being, but everything that you do is a programmed response, is a mechanical programmed response, and then the third level is when you can observe yourself. You can recognize the multiplicity of eyes that there are. You can, when you're in a situation, if you're an adept, when you're in the situation, the 4th level of consciousness would be your ego not having any part of it at all. It's basically your true self in control all the time. So there's never any reaction. There's never any mechanical reaction. Everything is, but we're all far off that.
Talk about your true self talking. There's just one other thing that I wanted to pop up for Amanda, is that one of the big takeaways from the pandemic is that our leaders have all been shown to have feet of clay. And so actually enlightened ordinary people are going to have to lead themselves. They're going to have to lead the future. And we are going to have to recraft the way our society is built. Now, if we're programmed to think, oh, I've got to wait for a guy to come from Harvard, Oxford, Cambridge, Edinburgh, the Sorbonne, or someone to come and create this for us, we're going to be stuck. If we wait for those people, we are going to recreate exactly the same hierarchies, which right now, I'm of African origin. We're getting the short end of that particular stick at the moment. I don't need for that to be replicated. So going forward, how do we create systems that are fit for us as human beings? I mean, the non-exploitative, lie-encrusted narrative, which has put us all in the place where we are today. How do we create new systems? Amanda?
Yeah.
No pressure.
And that's, can you
I think you just froze for a
it's
second.
been a little spotty. So
No problem.
sorry. So because my internet's been spotty, I'm not hearing everything very clearly. I think it's my end anyway, probably. Being in a forest has its benefits and its downsides.
Hey, did you notice we're in a forest?
I'll take it.
That's a synchronicity.
Yes, I see that.
That's just a beautiful synchronicity, because Sarah had the picture and I was like, oh, send me that picture. We've got to use that as a background. And I thought, because it's you, Yummy Naturals, we've got to have the trees. So there we go. That's a beautiful synchronicity. Sorry, back to the question.
That actually, I just took a picture yesterday of something very similar, because one part of my land, I'm actually protected by a ridge. You can meander down it, but it's up. And beyond there, it drops down into a marsh, and then it drops down into a lake. And so that's westward. And when the west sun is moving away from us, it shines. So I have a darker, front of the forest, similar to this image, and the sun from behind. And it is so beautiful. You don't even, it's almost like you can't see it. It's so beautiful, like you can't even input that level of beauty. You're like, I got to take pictures, or I got to paint it, or what do I do with this?
but whenever you do, whenever you try to capture it, it's always like, well, yeah, it's nice, but it's not what I'm seeing.
It's not.
You can never.
What about the question?
Oh, sorry, Tet.
Yes, we're coming back to your question.
Yes.
Sorry, mate.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, so a couple things. One, those different stages of ego. The third stage, which I've gone through these stages. The only issue is that sometimes you feel so detached, right? Like when you fully dissolve the ego, there's nothing but you're just sitting there neutral. I mean, there's not much you want to do. So we use the ego as a vehicle to get things done. Ultimately, I see it as a tool. Yeah. I see it for what it is, because when I'm not engaged at all with the ego, I'm just sitting in a neutral space. There's nothing to say. There's nothing to do. There's nothing to be done. It just is, right?
Well, just be, isn't it? It's the only thing you can do is be. That's all you're meant to do, is just be you.
Is be. But then another once you're in that you don't know where you are or who you are space, then the real you can be. You can listen for that. And that's why you have to get quiet, and you have to stop the chitter chatter and all of this stuff to hear what your direction is. And that, goes now to answer your question, Ted, is that we follow that in ourselves. That's all we need to do to change the systems, because once we become adults inside of ourselves, so we're coming from this childlike internal state we're going through adolescence, which, adolescence is fun, right? I mean, it's emotional, teens, right? It's
Yeah.
emotional. It's transformative. It can be confusing. It's all over the place. So we're going through this before we hit our mature state. And those of us who are already through a lot of this, there's lots of people already in little pods everywhere that I know doing this, where they're making communities, like local communities, agreements with people who are growing food or who are beekeepers or who are aware. And all of this networking has been going on already for years. And even before this whole stuff happened, it's been happening, right? Because I know me, I woke up early, and a lot of people woke up from the whole 9/11 scandal, and they already knew it's not going to go. We know that we read the UN document. Okay, we know where they're going. We know what they're trying to do. They know they're going to use fake climate change to tell us that our farts are killing the world and that we have to eat crickets and bugs now, and all this kind of crap.
I would say
that writing on the wall.
I would say with the old CC thing, it's because I can see it here in Tenerife. I arrived here. I'm in Tenerife off the west coast of Africa. So, excuse me, in the Canary Islands. And 7 years ago when I arrived here, they weren't spraying. And I noted it. I was like, wow, they're not spraying here. This is amazing. The weather's amazing. It's perfect all year round. Like 12 months of the year, perfect weather, beautiful, gorgeous, and always had been, was famous for it. 5 years ago, they started spraying, and the weather changed almost instantly, right? Almost instantly. As soon as they started seeding, it changed. Over the last week or so, I've been just taking little videos showing, look at this, July. Beginning of July, middle of July, end of July, June, beginning of June, middle of June, end of June, first day in July, cloudy, chemically seeded clouds. It should be beautiful, beautiful sunshine here, but it's chemically seeded clouds. But the thing is, the trouble is, the people think that it's, they're not really aware of it, and if they are aware of it, they're ignoring it, but they're buying into all this. Oh no, it's us. It's because of our carbon footprint. It's got, shh. Don't worry about those volcanoes over there. Don't worry about Mount Etna that's been going off for 6 months. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about the largest volcano in Japan, in the world, that completely blew its top. Just after La Palma, the island next to me here. After that one went, don't worry about all those. But I mean, where are people's heads at when they think that we're making a carbon footprint that's affecting the climate, that potentially is going to bring all the beachfront properties are going to be 20 feet underwater in 10 years' time, and that's why Bill Gates has built a mansion right next to one. But and that's us that's done that, and these volcanoes they haven't done anything. No. They're not playing a part, man. What's wrong with people?
Yeah, well, they don't have all the information, obviously, right? Because they're not tuned into themselves. They aren't.
Yeah.
They're like squirrel, another squirrel. I mean, this is mankind right now, chasing squirrels. How are you gonna
bouncing balls? Chasing squirrels and bouncing balls, man. Listen,
but guess what? Those people, they're just going to go into this. They're going down that path. There's no stopping them. That's going to be the split, right? They're going to do that thing, and they for whatever reason. But that's not us, and that's not what we're working on. And that's not our focus, right? And we can empower the weather above us. Every single person can create
Sarah,
their own weather modification right at their house. So
Sarah's
much as
done it.
That was one that bothered me a lot. Yeah, that one, because there's free will, so they can't do that. So how are they doing that? How are they overpowering our free will? Because that's illegal. There's rules here. So how are they doing it? Well, that's because I can actually change it too. I can change it back because they're breaking a law. And if you understand who you are, where you are, and how this all works, you're like, yeah, whatever, dudes. I put out vinegar. It changes the pH. It totally changes the chemtrails above me. I haven't received them yet, but you can get cloud busters, or you can get these frequency emitters that are tube torosin based that will blast the crap. It's done. They're done. So we have more power than we realize when it even comes to the sky above us.
Right.
Rox,
sorry, Rox, you're on mute.
Rox froze, unfortunately.
Oh, she has frozen.
Amanda, I have successfully been doing more of a mental practice with the trails and focusing on like a streamline and just saying the words disappear, dissipate. And I do it the entire walk with my dogs. It's like 40 minutes. And I noticed one morning they were going to town, and I focused the entire time. And by the afternoon, there wasn't any sign of it. I don't know, the exact specifics of what was going on that day, but it's pretty powerful.
Well, you probably expanded your field. So when you begin to do that work where you're over and over on a thought, you can imagine that filling you, like your field up, and you are enhancing, and then through your will you can make those changes. And I've done this.
I envision like a toroidal field with that consciousness repeated, and I see it disappear. I see the stages of it disappear in my mind as I do it too. Like a strong meditation.
Well, that's manifest. That's manifestation. Like that's essentially what you're doing, and there's so many ways we can do that, and it's never just one way. There's never just one way to heal. There's never just one way to clear the chemtrails and stuff. That's a manifestation way, right? And I do it too, where I say on my land specifically, I say it's not permitted. I claim this space, and if there's no counterclaim, then it's mine. So I claim this space and the airspace, and you're not permitted to do this in my region, in my airspace. And yesterday when we were coming back, because they were going hard yesterday spraying, because they want nasty weather for Canada Day, because they don't want the protesters in Ottawa.
Yes,
so I know they were geoengineering. Yes, today. They were spraying hard, and I knew they were doing it on purpose, right? I could feel it too. The wind that it generates and stuff, you can feel when they're really pushing hard. And so I was really active yesterday. When I came back, because we'd gone into town, we were driving back, I said to my daughter, see that only little blue patch in the sky right now? I said, that's over our property. That whole rest of the sky was gray. And only our property that had beautiful blue sky above it. And I said, that's because we are doing that. Our intention is doing that, our actions. And we have that power. And if people realize that, they would use it for really beautiful things in their lives. But they have to get past the self-hatred aspect, which is really foundational. This I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy enough, I'm a piece of crap thinking that they've put into our heads ultimately by totally destroying the family unit and our security systems and all this stuff, right? It caused a lot of trauma. And that's led to a lack of self-care, really, and taking responsibility for the self. And that includes how you feel about yourself, obviously, because if you care about yourself, you're going to do the right things. But if you don't care, then whatever, right?
Any road leads there. But I mean, what's interesting is I've observed more and more. I watched a couple of videos about satanic ritual abuse, and it was interesting to hear the testimony of the victims of these things. And a couple of the people who healed talked about how they felt inside while it was going on. They mentioned this state of dissociation where to overcome the pain that they were enduring, they would literally have an out-of-body experience where they could almost objectively observe the abuses that were being perpetrated on their bodies. And it was so very interesting because he came away and he said that he followed that by becoming a terrible bully at school. Such a bully that he got himself into trouble, then turned to a life of crime. And by the time he turned to the life of crime, he was so dead inside from this process of constant and repeated dissociation that he had no sense of empathy, he had no sense of remorse, he had no sense of anything for other people until they asked him to take a child's life. He realized then that he was a psychopath, but not psychopathic enough to do that. And that's when he fell apart, had to run away from the group, and so on. I mean, his name is Alan Bernard. I mean, this thing is very well documented.
I'd say he was a sociopath, not a psychopath. Sociopath is created, isn't he? A psychopath is born.
Sure.
He would have, but a sociopath can be created through disassociation, through MK Ultra style.
Okay. Well, literally, what he'd gone through was without the planning, an MK Ultra style situation. And I look at a lot of people's lives these days, and actually, a lot of people have been through so much abuse that they're carrying so much trauma that as they grow up, their lives become incredibly heavy. And lo and behold, isn't it funny that when your life is heavily traumatized, you're having to kind of deny a lot of your own realities that we fetch up with the kind of environment that we've got. So, I mean, one of the big learnings for me throughout the whole of this process has been that there are two types of work. You can't work on the environment without simultaneously or first working on yourself. So you have to clean up that. I mean, to be able to visualize dissipation and disappearance. Sarah, what were the words? Was it
dissipate?
Dissipate. To be able to do that powerfully, you have to be in yourself. You know, you have to be in charge of yourself and your will. So we can't speak enough about the importance of people healing from whatever trauma it is that, you know, but for the grace of God go you or I, whatever trauma it is that they have had to endure and grow up through. And in different parts of the world as well, because there are parts of the world where there isn't a day's peace, because there isn't enough money, there isn't enough food, there are insurgents running around, and so on. And they're humans like anybody else. This trauma is being created on a day-to-day basis. All of it has to be healed, and it's part for me of the truthing process for us to either support or assist other people who want to. You can take a horse to water, you can't force it to drink, you know. You have to be prepared to do this. But it is so important that people go through the healing process. You meet certain people who call themselves, who say they're in the truther movement, and they've got such awful personalities.
Oh, what about the ones that call themselves healers?
Get back.
What about the ones that call themselves healers? The ones that put themselves forward as influential healers on the internet, and you could, I mean, there's the thing is, it's my mind's just gone blank. Oh my God, I hate that. I had something I was going to say,
but you know.
Well, I mean, it's.
Go, Amanda.
Yeah, I was just going to add, you know, there's all sorts of different circumstances that people are going to face, and that's their world, you know.
Yeah.
And their level of trauma and their whatever they're here to go through. And everyone has their own hell to go through, whatever it might look like on the outside versus on the inside and that sort of thing. So ultimately we are going to play it out until we're done playing it out, as there has to be some purpose. I always feel that there's reasons to some degree of why we would create something like this, even as dark as it is. What is it about this experience that we need to see? What's the piece that we need to get? because I really want to get it so we can stop the suffering and quit with the dissociative trauma and the constant death and suffering. Like when are we done this lesson, you know? And I'm hoping that it's the pain is the signal to tell you how to direct you. Ultimately, it's meant, I think it's meant to, you know?
I think like that's where I agree with you 100%. I've been saying to people recently that it's not our job to wake everybody up. We're going around telling everybody we are sovereign, you are sovereign, I am sovereign, you are sovereign. You can't tell me what to do. I can't tell you what to do. If whoever it is, if they don't want to wake up, if there's nothing that's resonating within them to say, oh, I should look at this, then who am I to say, no, you should look at this. Here, open your mouth. Let me ram it down your throat. You know, it's not our place to choose when people should wake up, because everybody wakes up in their own time. And I think I think everybody wakes up in their own unique way as well. Each one of us has got.
You can take a horse to water. You absolutely can't force it to drink.
Yeah.
It's just, I think that the awareness of the principle that for each of us, whatever our circumstances, whatever it is that we're facing, you know, it's the twin horns of this task, is that you have to clean yourself up inside, and then, or at the same time, you know, do something to tidy up the world in which we live, so that it's a loving, caring place to nurture life.
Yeah, I also see it like sometimes in this way, where we're thrown into this realm, and we forget who we are. So it's a game of forgetfulness. We've forgotten who we are and all of that. And so we're playing a game of forgetfulness that we can suspend and have a new perspective, new way of seeing what we are, coming into it. So say you already know who you are, but now you forget. Now you have to come into who you are from this angle, or maybe from that angle, or this angle. And we're like mirror ball experiences. We're going to do it all different ways again and again and again, because we're not just this, we are this. And so all of these angles, we're forgetting to find it. Now we forget again to find it again. We forget again to find it again. And this brings us into a preciousness that we can't have. We can't see that beautiful sun coming through the trees until we appreciate that level of preciousness of life, or of existence, or of all of those things. And it's not even it's not even of the thinking, it's of an experiential, it's of an instantaneous knowing, right? So it's a totally different level. And I think we play this game with ourselves for eternity, really, most probably, because if you are eternal, right, there is no end, there is no beginning, there's no stupid Big Bang. That's all a bunch of hokey crap. If we are and always were and always will be, we would get damn bored, and we would be wanting to do something like that. It makes sense to me that we forget on purpose. So even all this nonsense, I own it all. We can own it. Just own it. We wanted it somehow for whatever reason, and we're doing it. And now we're deciding we don't. Yeah, you know what? I'm so tired of watching my loved ones die and suffer, and I think we're good. I think we're gonna do it this way now, you know. And we're shifting, we're pivoting in that regard, and at least it can help. That perspective helps me, not because you cannot be in depression and anxiety all day. You won't function. You can't live like that. That's not reasonable, right? And you certainly can't boss everyone around, tell them what to do, as much as as a Leo, that's like my kingpin friggin' trait. You have to just, sometimes you have to use the hammer, and sometimes you have to use a soft glove, and sometimes you just have to nod and smile. And that's grace. That's learning grace. And that's learning when you come in to teach and when you don't, when you're asked and you're offering, when that's balanced, or when you're just like, believe what you want, you're cool, you know, just be you, whatever, right? So there's all of these different nuances.
Yeah, just like balancing within our own selves, it's like balance with each other as well. And I love that how you just put that. That's really important.
It's definitely all about balance. I keep making the reference to like you said yourself, Amanda, that they kind of tell us. They tell us everything. They just don't tell us. They tell us in children's cartoons quite a lot. In The Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender, the yogi's telling Aang that in order to gain full control of his avatar, he has to work through his chakras, and each chakra represents a different level of attachment and stuff and understanding. And once he gets to the third eye, once he's balanced the third eye, and then he'll be in full control of the avatar, of his avatar state. I see us as an intentional creation. We are meant to be the avatars here. We're meant to be basically godlike, you know, godlike physical beings that tend the gardens and live an amazing, beautiful, creative life here on this realm. But in order for us to have full control of our powers, and you know, and to be able to do what it is that we're going to do, we need to be in full control of our emotions. We need to be in full balance, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. You know, we need to know who we are and why we're here. And that's what they've done. They've removed all of that knowledge from us. And it might be a natural thing that we always have this amnesia. Every reincarnation, there's an amnesia. But I think it might be an intentional thing to help us build this. I think it's the evolution of consciousness. I think consciousness is the marriage of the physical and the spiritual, where the ego becomes aware of itself and aware of the soul and aware of the spirit, and it, you know, that's consciousness there, where you're operating in a perfect trinity or whatever.
It's really interesting that I view the whole world. And I think that if we find a solution that's optimal for part of the world, we're on our way. But we need to have a real kind of extensive bound of appreciation for what's going on. So, for example, I live in London, and London's actually quite a cool place. But other people live in other parts of the world. And we can't optimize the planet Earth for London. We have to optimize the planet Earth for the planet Earth. And the planet Earth is a multiplicity of places, including that beautiful grove that I'm begging you to invite me to one day when we can all fly, Amanda. That's a shameless plug, isn't it? No, but so this is the point. And I think that for me, a lot of my learning now is how I can extend the range of my awareness beyond my immediate circle of people who are in my space. Because the stuff that the world is so totally interconnected that if we blind spot a part of the world, it's going to come back and bite us. And it's only a matter of time. It's going to definitely come back and bite us. And it seems to me as if that the time frame between the cause and the effect is getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter.
Yes.
So this is my opus, you know, is to kind of extend the thing to way beyond the locus of points which are immediately around me.
And that's when you keep expand. So you expand your consciousness, you work with that, you're done that, then expands again. So your awareness is always continually expanding. Just when you think you learned something, just when you think you mastered something, just when you think you've arrived, surprise, next level is presented. You never ever arrive. It's like infinity. You're always just approaching it forever.
Yeah.
That's what we do. That's what we are.
Yeah.
And that reflects into the, you know, if you go back 20 years, or go back to my, you know, when my dad was 20, everything that he did, you know, even if he accomplished it, then he had to move on to the next thing. Once you've accomplished something, you just, if you just stick around doing nothing, you're going to stagnate. So you have to keep, you know, it's a natural state of being, isn't it, for us to keep moving forward. And one of the things about cycles is that the change is constant. It's always constant change. So we have to move and adapt with those changes.
Right.
Have we got any questions in the audience? Because I've just seen we've only got 4 minutes left. Ladies and gents, we are very blessed to have Amanda for 1.5 hours, and we've agreed we will not keep her a moment longer. So please, if you do have any questions, we did actually put it out. I put it out in the chat earlier, but I saw the mental stage. You say there was a question that disappeared, but you didn't delete it. I didn't see a question, but unfortunately I can't see Roxanne's channel either, so I wouldn't have seen it anyway. Here we go. Why is there no medical education on school level easily accessible? On a school level?
I just need to understand that question a little bit more, because what medical education are we talking about? Are we talking about conventional, holistic, or actual, here's how the body works type of education, which there's hardly any of that. And the school level, it depends on the school, because there's online schools, there's in-person schools, you know, so I guess I'm trying to assess what's not easy. What's the hard part in this person's question, you know? But I would answer my first sort of hunch of where I think this person's going is that, you know, getting this information doesn't seem to be so readily available or so easy to come by, you know. And that comes back to what we already talked about with, you know, the Carnegie Rockefeller medicine plan, which is purposeful to suppress the real remedies, the natural remedies and the methods, and to rewrite science, really create fake scientism, to look professional and to create a different language in the cult so that you can't decipher or read. So it feels special and different. So only if you're super smart and super, you know, whatever, you go through the hoops, which is really all just a filtration process to see if you're a sucker or not. So basically, if you're really super smart, meaning all well-rounded intelligence, you won't get through the hoops because they'll see that you're lit up and they don't want you in there because they can't program you, right? So if you are really good at memorizing crap and regurgitating it and getting A+, if you're an automaton, then you get into the schools because you're a programmable robot mind, right? The spiritual ones get filtered out. And I was one of the last, I feel I was one of the last classes in naturopathic college of spiritual cadence to be allowed in. I noticed the years after me, it was harder and harder for the ones that thought like me to get in, to be approved in to the schools, because we're split in the naturopathic profession. It's very split. You have the people who understand how the body works, and then you have the people who are wannabe MDs who still vaccinate their families, which is the most insane thing I've ever heard in my life. A naturopath vaccinating is like the biggest oxymoron you'd ever want to see. They're not nature doctors. They're frauds. They're literally frauds. And but whatever, they're frauds in the fact that they don't work with the truth, but they serve the people who aren't awake, right? And there still has to be people who there's still that interaction between the sleepy people, their sleepy professions and their professional, interactions. And then there's the ones who are like, yeah, no, that's just not how it works and not what I'm doing to my body. And I don't just want to suppress symptoms, and I'm not going to, I know how this place works. And so it's a whole different way of thinking, right? And they because they select for that, that's what they push in your face and market and sell. And that's the predominant way. So I guess you don't want to go to school for that. Mostly, we need to create the real, knowledge base again. We're in a renaissance. We're literally in a renaissance.
It is, isn't it? This is the new renaissance. This is the hopefully the true renaissance, because the one before was a bit of a shift into a different vibration, wasn't it?
Well, and what I'd really like to see is apprenticeship types of opportunities come back. I've had a lot of years in the health field, but I'm changing and want to alter. And if I could have someone like you to guide me through learning all these other modalities and living off someone's land like that too, at the same time, like I think this is the time. I feel like for something like that to happen.
And what we've got Mish as well is thinking about moving into things, aren't we? Sorry, Amanda. Sorry.
Well, I was just saying that's why I'm trying to get to this space where I can do those courses, because I also found a lot of practitioners who are leaving their cults, like the nurses and so forth, and they still have an important skill set that they don't want to lose. I mean, they put all that invested time to learn something very valuable, which can be adapted and utilized in different ways, and that can be done. We just have to reform the information and help them become more practical with it, and reinvigorate the knowledge and just steer it properly. So that's why I'm writing the courses as well, because I have those people who want to actually become coaches to help people through the material. So say you come through the courses, maybe you do one on heart disease because that's what you're dealing with, and you want to learn about how to treat yourself for heart disease. You're learning the information, but you come to the end of it and some stuff, and you've definitely made some important changes, but you still feel it's too overwhelming for you. Maybe you're too sick, so you're not thinking clearly, whatever. You still need assistance, because we still need help in our lives. Then the coach would have gone through that material and will be helping them through the protocols and support through the protocols. So there'll be another layer of that that I see already forming. If you pay attention, you can see it form out before it even manifests physically. And I'm starting to see clues that people want to do that. So that'll be part of it as well. And regarding this question on the screen, I did write a book on cults like many years ago, like 10 years ago. It's an unfinished manuscript that's just been sitting that I haven't really even touched on. But you're right. It's probably an important book as far as explaining the cult ideologies and how that operates in the medical system itself. Because it was geared toward that. I just haven't been able to get back to it. It's just really a function of how much time is in a day. And as you were mentioning about the cause and effect there, Tat, when you're saying it's shorter, I noticed that too. And also I noticed time is very strange and different.
Oh, isn't it just?
It's very, now I'm trying to go first. The first thing is, don't assume it's everybody else just at the beginning. At the beginning, just think maybe this is a phenomenon I'm experiencing, so I will just sit with it and see if it's my thing. But then you start asking questions, and then you're like, oh, it's not just my thing. Like, okay, so it's a bigger phenomenon potentially happening here. So let me study that. Let me look at what that looks like. And even with food rotting faster is something. Like there's all my garden is the slowest growing garden. I've been gardening for 10 years. I've never seen a slower growing garden than what's happening right now. So something's being torqued. It feels like something's being twisted when it comes to time. And I'm not sure.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's weird you say that, because here in Oregon, we had some bursts of rain, but all of a sudden everything grew so fast in a very short period of time. And I'd never seen it just, and everything's blooming in just excessive blooms too. So it's like you're saying, like there's a warp where it's like one side it like slows down, and then there's this other, angle where it speeds back up, like the ebb and flow.
I mean, it's July. It's July the 1st. It's 7 months into 2022 already. So, like 2 weeks ago, it was Christmas. It was the beginning of the year, and I was like, "Yeah, it's the start of the year." But what? It's July. Hang on.
Without a doubt, this is the fastest 6.5, 7 months I have seen. In sometimes I think it's just because I'm myself. I'm older, so time feels like it's running. It's running faster. I don't know.
Sorry, they were telling us we had the shortest day of our lifetimes of the world times, is what they've just told us. This just happened. The shortest day ever recorded. Yeah,
except it was the longest, wasn't it? Because it was summer.
No, we have the longest day on the 21st.
We're supposedly. I follow mainstream science. There's a guy, actually, he's not mainstream, but he follows the sun science, and he was saying that actually supposedly our rotation is faster overall, so our days supposedly over this past year are shorter, according to that.
Yeah, we don't rotate, we don't move, so that's bullshit.
Exactly. The sun moves around us.
So we're on a motionless plane. The sun moves around us.
The sun moves around us.
That's what I'm saying, though. What is actually speeding up? If some people have that concept of a machine or something, is that causing it? But anyway, it's just interesting that we're noticing that, and that's what they're telling too.
Yeah, like if you understand the mechanics of this place, this is why it's so important to understand we don't live on a stupid spinning ball. That is such an insane thought. It is insane. When you come through that,
hallelujah.
When you figure that out, when you wake up to that, which happened to me in 2016, you realize, holy moly, when you understand this, you can start to make sense of this world now. Because if we are having time alter, that means, and we know they're messing with our ether, because when you understand we don't live on a rotating ball, ether comes back into the science. You've brought back the materials, water, ether, electricity, how this place works. And when you understand they're putting a beam called HARP, and they're heating above in the firmament, right? So we're in an enclosed space, and they're heating it. What is that doing to our ether? And how does ether relate to our concept of time? Okay. Because it's intimate with us, ether, what ether is. The relationship between ether and water is intimate, right? So these are the questions we start to form when we're like, time's warped. And it's not just age, because I thought that too, Tat. I was like, oh, it's just, I'm getting older. I'm going to be 48. It's probably just a thing that happens when you get older, But it's not graduated. So meaning when I was 45, and then 46, it's faster. It's not like that. This is a new fast. And I'm asking younger people, and they are also experiencing it. So it's not an age thing.
I'm 45 in September, and I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it like there's dilation, there's time dilation as well. I think it's a lot to do with our perception, our focus and perception. That's what it's about.
That's going to always be part of it.
So I've been trying to get this hashtag for 4 years. I've been trying to get this hashtag off the ground. This hashtag We Write Reality, because perception. I see that our perception individually on an individual basis is the key to our reality, and the way they've taken control of our free will is by stealing our perception. They've got full control of most people's perception of what's going on in the world. And like you've already mentioned about responsibility, because nobody wants to take responsibility, they're happy to hand over their power of attorney and their perception to Hollywood and to MSM, and it's once you've got control of those things, once you understand and you've got control of those things, you actually have more control over your own subjective reality, and then you're able to do things like make chemtrails disappear over the overhead, because they're not entitled to be there, like you said. They're
That's why for me it's just so fantastic if people can get beyond that. Oh, have you seen this? And isn't it awful? Oh, have you seen that? And isn't it awful? Oh, look what they're doing here. Isn't that awful? And get into actually manifesting something constructive that you can do. And it's just amazing how that slows your environment down, kind of out of the slide into total and utter chaos, depending on how you respond. So, yeah, no, that is, it's something that I put out on my posts and stuff a fair bit. Okay.
Amanda, it's been 1 hour and 40 minutes. So listen, if you've got to go, we're going to let you go. We are going to probably keep going. We're going to keep streaming for a little bit and just, keep talking and close the stream down. But if you need to go now, we fully understand.
Well,
I would love to have you come back for another.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm sorry. It doesn't go without saying. It should go without saying. We would absolutely, we would love to have you back. If you do ever have the opportunity, I agree.
Yeah, that'd be absolutely fantastic. Fantastic.
Yeah, I would love to do it again. I'm working on another internet solution for me, so it's been a bit of an issue doing, and one reason why I haven't done as many lives as well is because of the Wi-Fi situation. So I'm working on another solution which is forthcoming, which will help. And then there's a lot to discuss, obviously. Most of it just goes and goes with the knowledge. So we'll just keep in touch, and I really thank you for this really great, deep conversation, as I knew it would. And actually, when you were speaking, I had a deja vu because I get so coming back to time, right? I get I'm precog, so I'll get which is not fun. It's not fun. It's not fun to have precog. It's not. Just so you know, desire it because it's not fun. But I'll see things, pieces, but I don't know where they go. Like I'll just see a thing and then I don't understand where it is. So I find it not very useful, except when it happens, when it fits in, when I've actually run the timeline and it fits in snug to that. So I'm like, oh, there it is,
Yes.
So I had that with this scenario where we were talking about time. And I have seen that before. And so it's kind of sort of surreal when then you see yourself talking and you know what you're going to say because you saw yourself.
You've seen it
ready, right?
It is fantastic.
So anyway, it was just I guess it's validating or verifying that, you're creating this, you're part of it, and we're all part of it. So I thank you very much for this wonderful discussion, and keep going, keep building your channels back. I know they keep trying to delete us, but you know how it works when they suppress us, right? Yeah, I just go, thank you, because when you suppress anything, it will come back with a vengeance. Always, it's a law.
Yeah.
Corks underwater, etc.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So here.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Amanda, thank you so much. Thank you.
Huge honor. Thank you.
Yeah, much love. Thank you very much. You know how to, if you want to, you just leave the studio. Babe.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, bye, everyone.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Love it. Yep.
Till next time.
Till next time.
Oh.
Wow. Well, I enjoyed that. Really enjoyed that.
That was brilliant, man. That was exactly as brilliant as I knew it would be. That was
super. Yeah. But guys, my problem is I now have to check out because I've got to.
No problem. No problem, sir. You crack on.
Thank you so much. Sarah, look, we've got to catch up later on and continue from there.
Yes. Yes, please. And Sunday, if you can make it on Sunday with us, I know our audience would love to see you again.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. See you all later. Cheers. Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye. 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 Leave.
High five.
Oh man.
High
Yes.
five.
Oh wait. Oops.
No, other way, isn't it? Oh no, hang
Oh,
on.
yeah.
No, I've mirrored my screen. Anyway, high five, man. Hey, Sonia.
Talk to the
Sonia's
chat
here.
real quick. I'm gonna be right back because you all know how long I've been waiting. Oh, that was good.
Oh, go on, you go. Listen, I'll tell you what, right? I want to. Oh no, we haven't got videos loaded up here because I could do with just having a quick. I'll tell you what I'm going to do, ladies and gents. Just give us 1 minute and 28 seconds.
Beautiful.
I love that. Love that music.
Yeah, actually.
So, chat room, thank you very much to anybody that's here and is still here watching, who came, from Amanda's channel or from any of Amanda's, basically, if you've come via Amanda, thank you very much. Thank you for being here. I hope we've done a good job. I hope we've done Amanda justice, because she's a wealth of information, useful information.
You talk about a front runner for our community. You talk about somebody who's doing all the work that we already said. She's been doing it for quite a few years, so she's really somebody. I think that it's amazing how we've all come to our different journeys, to get to where we are today right now. But it's really important when you have somebody like Rox, who hasn't been vaccinated her entire life, and stand in front of us and tell us this, and somebody like Amanda, who's been doing her work for so long, and and clearly not only making a difference in a huge way on that end, but also then being a voice for all of us and having that dialogue we need to all have. So super honored.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I don't think that could have gone. I mean, other than me trying to mess with things and then having myself front and center when I'm trying to have Amanda front and center. I think that
I saw what you did then. I saw what you did, so I just quickly popped the solo over, because I was like, yeah, newbie mistake.
So I just want to say hi to everybody in the chat, because I only got to say hi to India. And India, thank you so much for being on top of pointing out that we didn't have sound on Rox's channel.
Oh yeah.
I was over there though, and Manny helped too. Thank you so much for posting links and everything. We really appreciate it.
Do you know why that was? Do you know why that was? It's because in order to do it, I've got 2 StreamYards open, one on Rox's team, one on your team. And in Rox's one, where I'm streaming on Rox's channel, the only way we could do it was to actually share my channel showing the thing. But if I've got my channel on, I've got to turn the volume off. And so if I, because it was echoing in my, so I had to turn the volume off, and that meant that on Rox's stream there was no sound on the thing. If I hadn't been able to do it on my phone, then it would have basically, I would have been able to put the headphones in and had the sound on my phone. But because you can't share the screen when you join on your phone, it's a bit of a pain. Jeannie Guthrow, thank you very much for following us. Hopefully you'll follow us all. There are links to everything in the description, links and emails. And yeah, I mean, who knows when it will happen, but it looks like hopefully we're going to have a second installment with Amanda, where we'll be able to focus more on questions,
Yeah, we'll actually take maybe half of the hour and a half to just address the audience question, because I know you guys have a lot of good ones, so I think that would be important. Yeah, and I mean, I have a ton more questions for her too that I think we just barely got to touch on. Clearly, we could probably do, multitude. We could have her on as a regular guest if that was possible. Anyway,
I think she's probably got too much going on to be a regular guest, regular. But maybe we could get her on once a month or something,
You know what we will do is we'll have her at the Magic Tree House, and we can have guests come and present. We'll have her come in and chat with us.
Oh, that would be amazing, actually, if we could.
A sweet deal, so she can't say no.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully everybody got something valuable from that conversation, and from the from what Sarah was from what Amanda was saying. And if you did have questions that weren't answered, then we will we'll be able to do it next time. And also, I imagine if you've got a good question, if you want to pop it on an email, if you don't have Amanda's contact details in the description. They are, aren't they?
Her preferred email.
Yeah, because she's.
Yeah, post that in the chat, actually.
I think it's contact at yumnaturals.
That sounds right.
.net or something, I think it is. But so her, yeah, I mean, Amanda's bio is in the description as well.
Yeah, it's at info@yumnaturals.net. I'm going to post that in the chat right now.
Oh, there we go. info@yumnaturals.net.
And all her Patreon. She's got DMSO.store, YumNaturals.store. All that's available. I showed you the cover of her book. She's got all kinds of cool products. She's got orgone on her website, crystals, but then she's got more on the herbal side of things. So it's something I think definitely worth checking out. And man, I'm so motivated. I knew I was going to be this way too. It's like I don't get the premonitions like she does, but I get the feeling. I get like a predictive feeling or energy. And the minute you told me that and you put her name down, it was like, oh my gosh, here we go. Here's one of the next steps. This is just given to us. This is just.
I do get. I wanted to say it, but I thought if I talk anymore, it's just going to keep. I'd like to stop talking. But I wanted to say, do you know what? I've had premonitions, and like Roxanne can testify to them. I've had 3 premonitions that I remember clearly. 3 premonitions.
You have one that you think was a premonition too, and
the first time it happened was when I met a guy a few years ago, back in like 2018, 2019. Yeah, 2019. I met this kiddie, and when I shook hands with him, it's like in the movies. It's like this whole scene played out in my mind's eye, and I saw it all happen in fast forward, except not in fast forward. And it's like a capture. It's like this. It was like a screenshot of a film of this kid, and he was getting, basically there were police around him. It was a chaotic scene. There were police and there were doctors, and I'm like, that's interesting. When I shake his hand and like, oh, you know, and he seemed to be a nice kid, but a bit loopy. I don't know how many months later, oh, it was like a year later or something. Oh, where's what's his name? Can't remember his name. Oh yeah, didn't he hear? Yeah, about 2 months ago or something. Oh mate, police came out. They jacked him up, shipped him off to the mental asylum, didn't they? And they sectioned him. They put him in the hospital in Santa Cruz. They sectioned him. They were shooting him up with benzodiazepam and ketamine, you know, and fucking basically. And he tried to escape twice, and they ended up releasing him, but only to be flown back to the UK to be put into a different home, mental asylum, you know, in the UK. Then with Roxanne, it was the first time she was in a cafe, and she sat down to talk to us. She just bought her coffee, and she sat down to talk to us, and then she started looking in her bag, and then I saw she was getting frantic. And she went, "Oh my God, I'll call you back." And just as that was all happening, I've got this clear image of her keys right next to the till. Yeah. But before I get a chance to say anything, she hangs up. Then 15 minutes later, she calls back and says, "Oh my God." I said, "You lost your keys, didn't you?" "Yeah." "And they were by the till, weren't they?" "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah, I had this vision. I had this vision in my mind." Oh. And then the second time was with Rox again. She was like, "Oh my God." I said, have you lost your lighter?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "It's down by the kettle." And she went downstairs, and there it was by the kettle. And I said, it's yellow, isn't it?" And she said, "No, it's blue, I think." But I think it was blue. She said, "No, it's not yellow, but I have got a yellow lighter."
That's cool. Yeah, I had a moment after I talked to you and you were going to talk to Rox, and I went for a walk, and I was walking through the oak grove. And what's interesting, this wasn't future. I heard it in real time. I heard her say something to you, and it was weird because it just like popped up out of nowhere, and I was like, oh. And I was thinking about you two a little bit at the time, but then I got back in and I just felt compelled, and I asked her, I was like, "Did you just say this to Rich a little bit ago, like 15 minutes ago?" It was like, you know, just a specific sentence. And yep. But it was like I was hearing it real time. And the other thing I realized is that I'm listening to more now that I understand about my Jovian chart is listening to my gut's first reaction, because my chart more or less says that I speak with sound. And so the other part of that that's kind of weird is I used to always kind of talk weird gibberish. I used to like make up languages or talk like fake Spanish when I was younger, and you know, like trying to kind of being goofy. But I realized it was something that was coming to my mouth as like an instinct. And it's been happening kind of like it's increased again. And I'm trying to pay more attention to what comes out of my mouth first, because I'm realizing I think I'm speaking another language.
Is this these strange noises that you make when you're talking to your cat? Is it the same
No.
strange noises?
It's like I'm literally saying a word like "shimada," like that. Like I don't know what I just said, but that actually kind of sounded like a real word, and I don't even know where it came from. But that's like what I'm talking about. Like that's been happening to me. It's quite interesting. Anyway,
what it might be is that in previous incarnations, it might be that in previous incarnations you haven't always been English.
I definitely don't think I have. I think that I do have some connection to the Egyptian something, and that's I think where my connection comes with you two or an Aryan or something.
Well, I'll tell you what it is, because where is it? Is it Slovakia or Poland?
Yeah, I'm from Yugoslavia.
Right. So it's I think it's that's the basically the Aryan. It's the Aryan connection.
Yeah.
It's the it's the Aryan thing that runs all the way through North Africa, right the way through North Africa. Well, it goes right across the globe, doesn't it? Right through Asia, through the central band of Asia, into North Africa, up into England, Scotland, Germany. There's a lot of us, man. There's a lot of us.
We're freaking rainbow warriors, man.
Well, we were giants once. We were giants. Just remember that.
Obviously, you and I were.
Definitely you were. Yeah.
If we were Nephilian, I don't know what we were.
I mean, to anybody that hasn't really got any concept of it, if we were to stand side by side, Sarah's only like an inch shorter than me, or maybe an inch and a half shorter than me. That's all, isn't it? What are you, about 180?
183 inches or centimeters. I think it is.
Yeah. 183 centimeters.
Yeah.
And I'm 190 centimeters. I'm 7 centimeters taller than you.
Yeah.
But it's like nearly 6. Well, yeah, I mean, pretty much 6'3" now. I've grown. That's the other thing as well. Okay. What I've noticed in the last 7 years since being here on this island, I have grown 3 centimeters. I've grown 3 centimeters since being here.
I believe
that. I swear to God.
What makes me wonder about that is this: people are talking about that we weren't supposed to live outside of the equator zone, like where the winter sun is, because then you have to take in vitamin D, and you're living right in the center, like right. And so it makes me wonder if like we flourish more if we're actually in the right environment, or like plants, if you put them in the right conditions and they flourish and they grow really fast. It's really interesting.
I've heard a theory that I think it's actually from Jason Brashears, said something about being in a volcanic region.
I am.
Can sort of
makes me wonder how different it is from, because I am technically, there's a lot of volcanic type soil around here.
Maybe that only applies to those of us with the Aryan gene, because all the Spanish around here are still short ass little 5'5", nothing, like tiny little. I do feel like a giant sometimes walking around, walking around the supermarket, and everyone's coming up to my shoulder, it's like, I'm a giant.
Yeah, I own it now. I don't hide it. I told you I was dating this guy, and he's 5'10", and I found myself doing this little like side kind of thing next to him, where hand on your
head on one side.
I could do that, right? Well, I was actually, though, every time I would stand next to him, I would do this little hip thing, and I would lower my height to almost be to his height. So I go to the doctor, right, and I'm getting my height checked, and this is years ago. And they're like, yeah, you're coming out at 5'10". And I was like, whoa. No, I'm 6'1". Okay, do it again. Stand up there again. All real straight. Yep, 5'10". Oh, hell no, I didn't do that ever again. I stood up as tall as I effing could after that. We probably broke up shortly after that. But regardless, I realized like I had to own it, because otherwise I was just going to end up like, squishing myself. And that's only going to cause problems. So.
Posture's so important, man. Posture is so important.
Yeah, where's Reverend? How's my posture been lately? I've been trying to pay attention to it. I think, Reverend, you're the one that called me out on it. Anyway,
my posture in this chair, it's not great, man. It's not great, but what can you do? Like, what can you do? You do what you can with the tools you've got.
Like right now?
Yeah, lots of stretching.
Do this.
Well, I can't. Stretching here won't really help me too much. But I'm going to take Alfie and Kanito out for a walk, and while I'm walking, I'm basically arranging myself back up, because I've got serious lower back pain. Right? It's only got worse. It has only got worse. But I was talking to Roxanne about it and wondering if perhaps what it is because I'm consuming so much hot chocolate. I wonder if it's basically I'm collecting the undissolved hot chocolate in my bowels, and it's some sort of constipation. I'm still going to the toilet.
I sent you remember those links I sent you, and there was all about like massive sacral stretching. I really want you to start looking at those. But there was something that somebody was talking about that might be, and it was trying to explain like it might be causing lower back pain specifically, and I think it has to do with the energies currently. So there is some connection there, but I really think that if and we'll start to do this more. We'll do this up. You know what we'll do on our Sunday show? We'll focus on one of those exercises, okay?
Yes, that would be good actually.
On that, and then, but I want you to look it up in the meantime so you can start doing that now, because I'm telling you, just from sitting here, I can breathe deeper when I do certain stretches. All of a sudden, I feel it. I just feel my lungs open up. So, well, that instead of breathing on Sunday, we'll do a stretching thing. Sound good, guys?
I mean, maybe we could do both, because the breathing isn't a long thing. Maybe we could do both. I mean, you know, we just spend the last hour. We do half hour of stretching and half hour of jiggling around like a lunatic. Oh God, Alfie! Oh. Alfie's just put his foot not in
Right
my. No, he's actually stood right on my bladder, and I really do actually need a pee because I've been drinking coffee today.
What do you think?
Say again.
I said, do we need to call it then? The shortest broadcast ever. I'm just kidding. For us,
I do. No, listen. I do think we should call it, because I need to take the dogs out.
Yeah. And we're going to be on again Sunday. So this was really about Amanda. We really just wanted to close it up, but I think that's going to be our plan. Is when we have interviews like this, we'll make the show a little shorter, but we'll always kind of plan on our Sunday show, and that can be our round table, and we can have the Goonies on. Manny, look at this. Where's your? Do you have it queued up? Do you have the sound queued up?
Oh God, no, it's not at all. No. But what we can do though, is we can.
Where's Sonia? She's still in.
There
we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Woo! We've got them for all of the Goonies, man. Like Leafy's not here.
I know. Okay, well anyway, Manny's here. Woo!
Yeah, Manny's here.
Okay, guys. Let's let the old man go pee. I'm just kidding. And
no, listen, all right. I'll own it. But I think we're all of us. We're still children. We thought that we'd gone through puberty and reached maturity, and didn't realize that we'd only just started puberty. Puberty was a really long, like 35 year, 40 year process. At least a 30 year process, you know, to sort of start to realize.
I just saw her name. Okay, anyway, let's let the old man go pee, and we'll see you guys in a couple of days, and we'll do this again, and what we'll do is we'll ask you guys to hold your questions towards the end, but we'll make sure we make it really obvious that Q&A time. And any other input, feel free to email us. If you don't want to email her, you want to email us instead, you know, we can always transfer information or just hold on to that till our next show. But our emails are in the description underneath her bio. We've got all our YouTubes on there, our Odyssey, our Rumbles on there, and all of our IGs. Tet's IG is on there too. So if you guys want to connect with Tet.
IG being Instagram, and there's also a Twitter link to me on there as well. And what I'd like to play us out with our 45-second introduction, and just everybody try to imagine when he says, that is the introduction. You can say it's like, and that was the show.
Well, wait,
imagine that's what he's saying.
I got a better idea. We'll do the 15-second and the thanks for watching. No?
Oh, yeah. It's 17 seconds. 17 is Q. Yeah, we'll do that.
It'll be 25 seconds altogether, because I'll end it with thanks for watching after that. Okay? I just did a new little 15-second intro for you guys, just for you today.
Right. Thank you
right.
very much. Much love, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
We'll see you we'll see you
so
on
much for being here.
Sunday. Maybe we'll go live tomorrow. Don't don't
Okay.
discount that. We might go live tomorrow. Just watch this space, innit? Thank you very much.